everyone, welcome back to my vlog. I'm Robin, or Hobbit's Reading List. I don't have an intro this week. I'm very rushed, so let's just get into it. So, as you'll notice, probably here, it's Wednesday, which is later than I usually start the vlog, but yesterday was all sorts of crazy. So pretty much, I went to class, started listening to Mating in Captivity. That's the only thing I read yesterday, but on Monday I read another short story in Tales of St. Austin, so I'll talk about this in a second. Went to class, had my first meeting of the day when I got home, and then I had a little bit of a break, and in that break, my cat Reese had been wandering around sort of acting weird, and then he was vomiting, and so I called my vet, and they suggested that, you know, they didn't have any appointments that day. The earliest they had was like this morning, and they're like, you know, if you can, like, I would probably take him to the ER. He could have like an intestinal blockage or something. So I canceled the rest of my meetings, but we went to the ER, and we were there for about 4.5 hours. And then he's fine. He's totally fine. He was constipated. So some very expensive tests later, we found out he was constipated, got some medicine. He had the fun experience of getting an enema. That was new for him. He did not enjoy it. 15 years old, his first enema. And then we came home, and I just sort of hung out with him the rest of the night in our bedroom, just like making sure he's okay, because I'm like super anxious and he's my child. So yeah, that happened yesterday. It was a very stressful day, so I didn't start the vlog. I didn't finish editing last week's vlog either. So you'll notice that Friday last week's vlog went up, because that was when I had time to get it done. Okay, so I read another short story in Tales of St. Austin, which is P.G. Wodehouse's collection of his school stories in short story form. It's at this school, St. Austin's, and it's just about, it's like snapshots of these like boys' lives, which would be fine if it wasn't at a boys' school and all about cricket. I've read, what, 3 stories so far? Yeah. And all of them have been about cricket. The last one I didn't mind so much. The last one I just read, and it was like letters with this boy at school to his like various family members, and like some drama about like one of his uncles digging up the cricket pitch and making it, you know, not great for playing, and then everyone, not everyone, but like this kid Richard kind of yelled at his uncle for doing that, which is understandable, and then his uncle and his father were like, well, you shouldn't have yelled, and it's like, you shouldn't have dug up the cricket pitch. I enjoyed that one, actually, because it was an actual story. The first 2 weren't. They had, there was no plot. It was literally just like a day in like 2 different guys' lives. Like that, I want more stories like the last one I read. So, not having a good time. And then I have also started listening to Mating at Captivity. I'm on the 3rd chapter so far. Right now it's just talking about why in long-term committed relationships, why desire and like eroticism tend to fade. And it's because of, a lot of it is because of the familiarity and like the lack of, I guess, like spontaneity, but also just the lack of uncertainty. Because if you're in a long-term committed relationship, you feel really safe and comfortable with this person, and that is great, but it doesn't necessarily lend to like sexiness. So those were the first 2 chapters, which I could see. So I'll be curious like further on to see what else is talked about, because the first 2 chapters were kind of repetitive a little bit. If you wonder what I'm looking at, I realized I hadn't started the vlog yet, and so I brought my tea with me. And so I don't want to oversteep it. So I'm just holding the tea bag because I didn't bring anything to put the tea bag on. Anyway, that is what is going on. I'm about to leave for work, and I will listen to more of Media in Captivity. Okay, so this is not a reading update because I haven't read, so it's a unreading update. But I felt like I should say something because it's Friday, since I started the vlog late. Let me see. I think I last checked in Wednesday when I started the vlog. So, okay, I guess I have read a little bit. I listened to about 3 chapters of Mating in Captivity. I'm about halfway through. I unfortunately, well, I stayed late at work Wednesday night, so I was too tired to listen to it on the drive back because I thought it might put me to sleep. And then I didn't go to class yesterday, and then I'm working from home today, so I don't know if I will finish it Sunday. I might, actually, thinking about it. So there's that. I still feel like it's just a little repetitive, which sucks. Like, I don't really feel like I'm learning anything new. I just feel like I'm learning the same thing that she has said in, like, the first and second chapter, just phrased differently and given different examples. So there's that. And then yesterday I read some of a, like, short story from Tales of St. Austin. This last one was a little bit entertaining. It's about this guy, I think his name is Harrison, and they're all going, like, back to school after, like, a break, and his friend is supposed to save a seat for him on the train, and so he goes to where his friend is, but he gets, like, cut off by this, like, guy he doesn't recognize, and that guy takes what is supposed to be his seat. It sort of comes out, like, they get into, like, a verbal thing, and then it sort of comes out that, like, Harrison's in the wrong compartment. That's not actually supposed to be his seat. His seat is, like, next door. But Harrison is so annoyed by how that conversation went and how that interaction went that he, like, mentally declares this guy his enemy. And so, like, once they're at school, he presents very nicely, but he tries to, like, sabotage the other guy. It doesn't work out in Harrison's favor. So that's that short story. I'm not minding it, but they all just feel kind of pointless. I'm not connecting to really to any of the characters. There is one character that I had mentioned I really liked, Richard, from, like, I think the 3rd short story. And he shows up again in this one. I think his last name is Venable or something. But, so I enjoyed getting to see Richard again. But, yeah, that's really all I've read. So, I may read today. I'm working from home, but because apparently Good Friday is a bigger holiday up here than I realized. Like, I've lived in Chicagoland for, like, 15 years. And this is the first year where, like, apparently Good Friday is just huge. I don't understand that. But, so I only have one meeting, so I will be doing some sprints with a booktuber that I enjoy. And, you know, I might read during them, I might do homework during them, I have to edit. But yeah, we'll just sort of see what happens. Hi everyone. Wow, my hair is tall today. Okay. Sorry about that. I still haven't read that much. I read 4 more stories, maybe, in Tales of St. Austin. It's very hit or miss. Like, obviously I talked about how there were some that I actually enjoyed, that actually, like, had a story. And then there are some that just feel pointless. Like, honestly, I can't even remember the 2 that I read yesterday, because they didn't have a plot. They were just literally, like, snapshots of, like, some kid's life at this boys' school, which, like, is fine, except that doesn't make for a very compelling read. I do believe that the short story that I'm going to read next, which is the 8th short story, I believe, it should have more of a plot, because it has chapters. Like, it has multiple chapters within this short story. So I sure hope there's actual plot. But yeah, like, it's fine. Like, this is not going to be a highly rated Wodehouse book, and I have a feeling the podcast that Dad and I record next week is just gonna be it's just gonna be us complaining the entire time, which yeah, that's gonna be fun. Other than that, like I said, I haven't really read that much. I just finished reading this week's Torah portion. That's about that. I am hoping to finish Mating at Captivity tonight, because I have to go to work, even though it's Easter. That's fine. Oh, I don't have to go to work. I am choosing to go to work, even though it's Easter, because Chris has to work too. And so I might as well. So I have to go to work, and then there's an event through my temple tonight to celebrate the end of Passover. So I'm going to go do that, which will be another, like, hour drive, and then I will come home. So I will have about 3 hours of listening time, which should finish the book, I believe. If I do it, you know, the entire, like, not the entire, but, like, if I do it for all of those sections of driving. Because one day I made the choice to not, because I just got out of work so late. But I also, I guess the only other reading update is that I bought a Kindle yesterday. I had considered buying a Nook because I didn't necessarily want to go through Amazon, but I felt like all of the e-reading stuff that I already do, like, I already have a Kindle account because I do have an Amazon account. My Libby is connected to my Kindle account. Like, my Audible, like, it just made more sense. Anyway, so there's that. But I did buy a Kindle yesterday. It's a very pretty matcha color. It's just the Kindle Basic. I had thought that I would want a Paperwhite, but I went to Best Buy and they had a couple. They had the Kindle Basic, they had a kid's Kindle, obviously. They had the Paperwhite, they had the Color Soft, and then they also had the Scribe. So I was able to, like, really compare. And just one thing I was really concerned with how it would fit in my hand, and my hand is kind of small. And so even the Paperwhite was a little bit too big, and then, like, the lighting options, I actually just ended up really liking the Kindle Basic, so that's what I got. It's a very pretty matcha color, and I was able to very easily, like, transfer the articles that I have to read for one of my assignments onto my Kindle so that I could take it with me to our friend Ellis's house last night. So I was reading articles while they were watching basketball, which means I got all my reading done for one of my classes, which is great. Anyway, I just realized I didn't film any B-roll last night. I really should have. Hi. I'm just gonna be here in my library, apparently. I am very stressed. I also have an itch on my leg. I did finish listening to Mating in Captivity. I believe I said earlier in the week that I felt like it was a little repetitive, which I still stand by. Usually with nonfiction, I end up giving it a 4 because it's nonfiction, and as long as it's readable, then I typically just give it a 4. Unless I legitimately thought it was perfect, but with nonfiction, that's also a little strange. with this, because of how repetitive it was, and I felt like I didn't take away anything that, you know, hadn't been said in the first chapter. A lot of it was just like expounded on, which like is fine and understandable. Like, I don't know. I ended up giving it, I think, a 3.5. Yeah. Just because, like, it was really repetitive. Like me, as I'm reviewing this. So, like, it was fine. It was interesting to read. And that's kind of that. I did read, like, a little bit of Tales of St. Austin while I was at physical therapy earlier. I didn't read much. The story that I'm in, the 8th story, apparently my dad told me it has 6 chapters. It's the longest story in this collection. Apparently it doesn't need to be. But I'm still in the first chapter, so I didn't really read that much, like maybe a handful of pages. But so far it's about a rugby match where someone from the St. Austin's team gets like very badly tackled and like sprains or breaks his collarbone. And the main character in this story, Charteris, I believe his name is, tells another guy on the team to like focus on tackling the guy who tackled their teammate. And like that's what happens so far. And like understandably the guy on the other team gets annoyed that he's being targeted and he like threatens Charteris. But Charteris is just kind of like, okay. But that's about it. So I don't know what else is going to happen. I do have an assignment today, so I will be focusing on that. Either way, it's Monday. I need to wrap up the vlog. So wish me best of luck on my assignments because they're stressing me out. And I still have 2 more after the one that's due today. So, but if you are also in the last, you know, weeks of your semester, you have my sympathies. It is very stressful. Yeah, that's about it. So leave me a comment, like the video, subscribe, click the notification bell, and I will talk to you next week, or hopefully we can get a little bit more reading done. Bye.